Hey everyone, I'm Nate Shear, and this is Mind Force, a podcast where we explore love, life, and learning because your mind shapes everything. Today we'll be talking about mental health and disabilities. We're going to start with the easy stuff, the background. So let's start with a quick introduction. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And what brings you here today?
Yeah, thank you so much, Nate, for having me here. Hi, everybody. My name is Kalina Powell, aka the Deaf Queen Boss. I am an international speaker, a coach for young adults with disabilities. And lastly, I'm so many hats, honestly, you guys. Sometimes I can't keep up. And I'm also an author as well. So I do have 3 books out already. And 2025, I'm going to have my 4th book coming out as well. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm here to talk about my story. I'm here to talk about my disability, especially how I cope with mental health.
Perfect. And just to set the scene, where in the world are you calling from?
I'm calling from Canada, Toronto.
Nice. Worldwide viewers. We'll start with the warm up. What's something people might not know about you that has shaped you, who you are today?
A lot of people don't know that I am very confident in myself and my disability. And a lot of people didn't know that it took me years to develop the type of confidence I have today.
Okay. Were you born with your disability or did you slowly? I was reading through your stuff. It sounded like it happened over the course of years, or what was that time frame for you growing up?
So it all started when I became deaf at the age of 4 due to an ear infection. So unfortunately, I had an ear infection when I was 4 years old.
Okay. Next question. How did your journey of personal growth lead you to where you are now?
That's a good question. There's a lot. I would say toward that question, to be honest, everyone. But I'm gonna keep it short. So it really leads me to where I am today is when I had that breaking point when I was younger. So I think I was in middle school. I was looking for a counselor that was either deaf or had a disability. And I was looking for a book to read based off a deaf author. And I realized that there was nothing for me, unfortunately. And I knew right there I wanted to make a change in the world. And it made me realize and shape me who I am today is that I want to make an impact to the younger generation to let them know that they're not alone because I felt alone. And that's really shaped who I am today, especially being able to advocate for myself and build that confidence in me. And because honestly, if you guys were to tell me when I was younger that I'm going to be this far in my life, I would probably laugh at you and be like, there's no way I am here. Literally, I would just laugh at you. So that's really how my hair and law shaped who I am today.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. I think that was one of the core reasons I started the show for losing my grandma when I was a kid with mental health issues and things like that. But I think one of the cores of the show, as it's gone on, through 50 episodes now, is letting people know that we are all human, we all go through stuff, and there's someone else that has gone through it as well. All the people, all the guests that have been on the show, it's interesting how many times it's come up that I thought I was the only one. I self-isolated, I downward spiraled and things like that. So awesome reminder. I'm so glad you mentioned that. People that are listening to these stories, you are not the only one to go through. It's like impossible. There's too many of us out there to, not go through it. So find somebody. It's awesome. I like the idea that you had where you didn't see the thing that you needed. So you built it. And I think that's pretty amazing. Next question. If you could describe your mission in one sentence, what would it be?
One sentence? Oh gosh. Okay.
Gotta be
That's
short.
too hard. One sentence. Okay. Well, sorry. I would say my mission is to create more impact to the youth, especially mental health industry. That is my one sentence. I hope that makes sense. I try to do one sentence.
That's perfect. Okay. Before we start on your main pillars, I wanted to see if you had a question for me.
Yeah, my question for you is, what is the one tip or advice would you give men in this generation who are struggling with their mental health?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is trying to open up, and obviously that's easier said than done, but I think that's one thing. Another reason, a core part of the show here is sharing stories and, allowing people to know that everyone goes through things and things like that. So I think it's really opening up and being a little vulnerable, which, that's difficult. As the men, you're supposed to be dominant, you're supposed to be strong, and you're not supposed to have any difficulties, but we know that's not true. And I think as we have these conversations, it's getting better and better together. But I think that's the most important thing, is to open up, and not open up to everyone. I think my core piece of advice would probably be find the safe space. So if that's your significant other, is that a close friend? I mean, maybe it could even be a dog. I don't know. But finding a spot where you can process, say things out loud, vent, get through those things. But I think finding that place where, you meet someone, you get some coffee, you process some things. Because I think, with the rise in mental health and not having enough providers to take care of us, we really have to do our best job of solving things at that lowest level. There are going to be times you're going to need higher levels of care, times where you might need medication, things like that. But if we can solve a lot of things by having that safe space with another person and offloading things as they come up, I think that's really important. I think a lot of times on the men's side, you carry the baggage, it's on your shoulders, you're trying to be strong, and then you just get weighed down. So you need to offload the stuff as you go. So that'd be my main thing. Find a safe space and offload as you go. Don't get to the worst day of your life before you're getting counseling and things like that. I think hopefully through the show and conversations, we realize mental fitness, key part of the title of the show, is you're doing things ongoing. You're not waiting for the worst day. You go and do cardio 3 days a week. You weight lift 2 days a week or whatever. You're not just going to mental health on the worst day. So let's move into your 3 main pillars. Your first main pillar is living with a hearing disability. So can you share your story? You talked about the infection. Do you have anything else to kind of expand on becoming deaf at the age of 4?
Yeah. So honestly, I remember like it was yesterday, to be honest. So I remember after we were done daycare, I was walking from home. I was normal. Human was normal. Until that, I went to go watch TV, and my mom called me. I couldn't hear my mom at all. And she tapped me on my shoulder, and that's when I freaked out, and that's when I realized my hearing just dropped. And so I looked at my mom, I said, I can't hear you. Oh my God, like, what's happening? My mom freaked out. And my grandmother, thankfully, she was a nurse, actually. Thank God. So she rushed home from the hospital. She did a assessment on me, and she realized that something was wrong. And she's like, hey, this is not normal. And especially me, like, I know my grandmother's voice top of my head. I really did. I really did. Like, I can hear my grandmother, like, walking up the steps, knowing she did not have to move her foot. Like, that's how crazy I am. And so my grandmother called my family doctor to figure out when can we come in. My family doctor said, unfortunately, we're fully booked. You have to come in with Kellina tomorrow. The next day came in. Unfortunately, there's nothing we could do. My doctor broke the news to my family and said, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do. Kellina is completely deaf in both ears. So I don't know if the staff in the daycare didn't put the eardrop in the right time or they put too much in my ear. I'm not too sure. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened. And that moment on moving forward, obviously my communication style changed as a 4-year-old, right? How can you explain to a 4-year-old she cannot hear for much of her life?
Mm.
And so that was something my family had to figure it out. And they had to figure out, are we going to learn sign language for Kalina, or Kalina's going to continue to speak? Because I already know how to speak. And so that was a very hard decision for my family to make because they didn't know what is the best for me as a 4-year-old. And I'm actually currently the first person in my family who is deaf. So that is definitely was a very huge transition for my family. However, when I was growing up, I went to 2 schools actually. I went to a deaf school and a hearing school. So that actually helped me a lot to learn how to communicate to different communities, especially for me when I get older, so I don't have to rely on my family to come with me everywhere I go. And obviously, I faced a lot of bullying. However, being deaf at the age of 4 was a lot of confusion, and obviously, it did affect my mental health because there's some days where I would lie to my parents, I don't feel well, I don't want to go to school because I was tired of wearing my hair so much, and I wanted to just completely just like not go to school, not to go anywhere. Because for those who are not aware, a lot of deaf and hard of hearing individual, we rely on lip reading a lot of times. So for me, lip reading is like it's my eyes. So I need to see a lip 24/7 in order for me to have that complete communication. Even though I wear hearing aids full time. However, I use both. So I use my lip reading and hearing aids at the same time to hear. So it was very exhausting for a 4-year-old who tried to navigate 2 different ways to communicate. So that is literally my life as a 4-year-old.
Wow, that's rough. So you said your family was thinking about American Sign Language, ASL, and things like that. What changes did your family make to kind of take care of you?
So thankfully, because of the deaf school, it helped my family a lot. So they did give them resources and tips what to do with me. So when I learned sign language in the deaf school, it was amazing. However, my family really didn't have the time and effort to learn sign language themselves because they were so busy with work and school. My mom had me when she was young, so she couldn't know what to do because she was in college at the time. But she did try to learn basic sign language, and same thing with my grandmother. But that was the only way that could help me. But they did had a good communication with me in terms of letting me know that they are gonna be vocal with me. But they had a reason. They had their own reason why. Because they were thinking about my future, right? They were thinking like, hey, when Kalina get older, everybody's gonna learn sign language. Is sign language gonna be considered a second language? So my family thought a lot about my future in that way.
That's interesting. How has your experience shaped your perspective on resilience and overcoming obstacles?
So it really just taught me a lot about being patient with myself. And because I noticed that with resilience, you do need to be vulnerable with yourself on what is really going on with yourself. I feel like a lot of us, especially people who have a disability, we don't take our time to learn our disability and learn how to embrace it. And that was something I struggled a lot when I was getting older. Embracing my deafness. It's okay to be deaf. It's okay to be different. It's okay to have different accommodation compared to anybody else in the room. And that's where the resilience came in. And what I realized was that it's okay to be different. And that's something I didn't get a lot of credit for myself when I was growing up. And again, because I didn't have any role model that I could talk to. And that's what the hardest thing I had to do was embrace my deafness, to really think to myself and say, it's okay to be deaf, even though you may not be liked by everybody. And that's something I had to learn the hard way. And I feel like the resilience came in when I was in middle school and high school because I had to learn how to fight for myself.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, as you were coming up, you mentioned bullying, and even now, I'm sure there's people that give you a hard time or don't understand. Like, what's the number one way, or maybe it's like depending on the situation, but is there like a technique you found to help people connect with you?
The easiest way for people to connect with me, especially in person, I would say always face me all the time. Just face me so I can read your lips. However, because of technology now, it improved so much since I was younger. So it helps a lot, especially with the closed caption now on different apps, different software. So it's very cool to see how a lot of inclusivity had been improved a lot on software. So it's been amazing. So that's how it's easier for me now. So thankfully.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just saw the other day, I totally didn't think about it, but I saw you can put a thing in like your cup holder at the movie theater, and I guess it'll show words. I don't know if they all do that, but I saw that randomly. I thought that was interesting. I didn't know that existed.
Yeah, yeah. So the movie theater are starting to come up with different ways for closed caption now for people who need it. Not everybody need it who's not just deaf, but anybody in general. They're making like a stick with the closed caption. And sometime now I heard they're creating like a sunglasses or glasses that show captions. So technology really is changing a lot.
That's awesome. I think one thing that's always important for people is education, right? They don't know, they don't understand. What do you think is the biggest misconception about the deaf community?
A lot of people think that the deaf community cannot communicate, and a lot of people think that deaf people cannot do what they can in their life, right? I know when people meet me and they're like, "Wow, you overcome so much," or you're super successful," and I was like, "What is that supposed to mean?" It doesn't matter what disability you have. Like, you can be anything you want. So I would say that's one of the biggest deception about the deaf community, that a lot of people also think that the deaf community cannot speak. A lot of people think that deaf people can only do sign language until they meet me. They're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you didn't know how to talk."
You
So
can
I get,
definitely communicate. We are sitting here communicating right now. That
yeah,
is,
exactly. So I feel like that is the huge depth. That's one of the huge misconceptions a lot with the deaf community, that they can't talk. So, and people think that they only can do sign language, and I was like, no, there's some deaf people that actually talk like me. So that's one of the biggest problems. Yeah.
Do you ever find people like walk on eggshells or they feel like they don't know what to do? Do you kind of help them through if they feel uncomfortable, or what's the interaction look like?
Oh yeah, all the time, all the time, all the time. Like I can't. If you give me a $10 on it, you guys, I'll probably be $1 million right now. Okay. I would say honestly, yes, all the time. I remember this one person. I was at a networking event actually, and so me, my hair's everywhere. I don't care. You see my hearing aids, you see my hearing aids. I don't care. This lady came up to me and she's like she was just frozen, and I'm like, "Can I help you?" And she's like, "You talk." Like she was in her head, it's like, "I can hear you. How can I help you?" But again, it was just lack of education. She was not aware, and so I said, "Oh my god, yeah. What are you talking about?" And then so she's like, "How do I communicate with you? Like, you use sign language?" Like, so that is one of the examples that I face a lot. Yeah.
That's pretty funny. So, on the education piece, that continue with that, what do you wish more people understood about accessibility and inclusion?
I just wish that people understood it that everybody's accommodation and needs are different. It doesn't mean it's gonna work for that one particular person. Everybody's unique in their own unique ways. I feel like a lot of time when people get into inclusion, they think that it's for everybody. It's not for everybody. So when you're really taking your time to learn about an individual person, please take your time and ask them questions. So I feel like people, overlook a lot about inclusive because they don't know how to approach, or they're ashamed of being embarrassed, right? And I tell people it's okay to be embarrassed, especially when you don't know the particular topic.
It's interesting. I feel like we do that a lot for some reason. We want cookie cutter things where like the answer works for everybody. And that it's just bizarre to me because we know we have all sorts of different people, different backgrounds, how they were raised, how they were, fill in the blank. We're all just magnificently different and diverse and beautiful. But then, like, when we come to solutions for things, it's like, let's just make one. It's like, how do you think that would work when we're all just that's really interesting. I'm glad you brought that up. How do you navigate challenges in communication, both personally and professionally?
I communicate in the exact same way. I don't really communicate it in any different ways. I communicate always vocal. So I don't really do a lot of sign language because not everybody knows sign language. So I am forced to learn to talk. And I always tell people straight up like, hey, can you please face me when you're speaking? And please let me know if you need closed caption. Do you need to upgrade your software? Do I need to put my closed caption on? So that way I can communicate through digital. So that's the perfect way for me how I communicate.
Do you gravitate more towards digital stuff? Do you prefer more in person?
I prefer digital stuff just because it's so much convenience and so much easier. So that way I'm not missing certain words or like having to ask someone to repeat themselves versus in person. And so that way I can just see on the screen that, okay, yeah, this is what the person asked. Now I can answer the question. But still having to ask them, can you please repeat that again? Before, when I was younger, I was so shy to ask people to repeat themselves. Because a lot of time when I was growing up, a lot of people get annoyed of me asking them that question. And they're like, okay, whatever, forget it what I said. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm sorry. I'm trying to listen. I never asked for this. So yeah, just know it's 100% for me.
Okay, that makes sense. Your next pillar is mental health and personal growth. What role has mental health played in your personal journey?
And mental health plays so much in my life, I would say, everyone, honestly and truly, especially the bullying I faced when I was growing up, right? It did affect me till now, to be honest, because I'm back in my mind, I'm always thinking like, oh my God, what if, right? Because of the experience I've been through in my past. And I did, come across with anxiety where I used to be nervous to talk to hearing people, especially, when you're trying to make friends outside of school, and that's going to lead to workspace, right? When you're working, you don't know how to talk to customers and you're getting anxiety and you're like, oh my God, are they going to hear me correctly? Are they going to make fun of my speech? I realized that um, you're not alone in this world in terms of that you never know what the other person's thinking. You're not a mind reader. And that's something I had to learn a lot, especially through my mental health phase, especially when I was going through depression, because So some days where I didn't want to leave my house because I didn't want to interact with people. And I didn't want to having to lift weight all the time and having to focus on someone like face to face, having to tell them, having to advocate for myself. Eventually, I got exhausted and to the point where it leads to depression. So, long story short, what I did was to overcome everything is just really think to myself that there's always going to be someone out there that's going through the exact same thing you're going through, but maybe something similar. And when I started watching, YouTube, when I started reading a lot of mindset books, that's when I realized a lot that mental health is actually a serious thing. And no one really talked about mental health before. So that's really how mental health really shaped how I am today. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you find now where you have a platform, you have people that follow you, and now you're able to help people? Do you find helping people to be therapeutic?
Yeah, 100%. Because I'm more vocal now about it, and I would tell people like straight up like, "Oh my god, I'm getting so much anxiety right now. Like, help me here." Like, I will make my followers or my audience to feel heard to let them know that like it doesn't mean I'm a content creator, doesn't mean I'm a successful person, doesn't mean I don't have mental health problems. And so I love the connection I have and that I created with my community to let them know that I'm also facing it too. We're not here alone.
We're all people. How do you help people with their personal growth through coaching?
Yeah, so through my coaching, so what we do is I meet up with clients once a month, once a week, sorry. And what we do is we just talked about what is it that they're looking for, right? Every client is very different. And what I do is we go through a homework. I go give them homework. So the very first thing is we break down what is it that they're really, for example, for clients that I need to learn how to love myself, my mindset. So what I do is I honestly give them activities while we're doing a call like this, and we go over something that is bothering them. What is the bottom line that's causing it? Where did it come from? Is it from your childhood? Is it from when you were dating somebody? Was it because of work experience? And then we go through it, break it down together. And then from there, we do a lot of like role play where I give them activities while on the session. And then from there, we do a lot of manufacturing in terms of I'll make them draw a piece of paper, right? And I would make them put circle center of themselves, put me and circle themselves. And I ask them, what does your mindset do you want it to look like? What kind of mindset do you want it to look like? So I work with them from A to B and B to C to help them to get through that process.
That's good stuff. I like how you get to the root cause. I always find it funny. We talk about like, relationships with our spouse or something like that. And like you're fighting over the dishes or something I always find
Yes,
is funny. The fight over the dishes is not actually about the dishes. It's about something else. And so I think that's always
exactly.
important, going back to, like you said, the incident that happened or school or whatever. Because I think you can fix a lot of like the smaller things, but if you're not fixing the big thing that actually generated it, then you're kind of in the same spot. So it's awesome that you are diving deep enough to be able to get in there and get to the core of that. I was wondering, with the bullying and things like that, what advice do you have for someone struggling with self-confidence due to a disability? How do you kind of push through that? I mean, it seems easy to be like, I don't care what other people think, but how do you actually get there?
So what I did was I honestly the bullying didn't stop until I was in grade 4. So I was being bullied for like almost 3 years straight, and I had a great support system. It's really about having a very strong support system. So for those of you who do not have a strong support system, I highly advise you to find a community that you feel safe. Rather it's Facebook group, rather it's a community full of women in your town, or a networking event or something. And it's very important to find that support system in order for you to break that bullying. And because if you don't have that safe space to talk about it, you won't be able to face the bullying on yourself. And number two, I had a counselor that I trusted. I went to somebody I trusted. So if you are currently nervous to meet someone or talk with a therapist or a counselor, I highly advise you to find someone that you feel safe. And it helped me a lot to really learn different tools. How do I face the bullying? How do I communicate with the bullying? Because even though you tell the bullying to stop, it's never going to stop. And it never did. For me, it took me 4 years to come out of that. And so it took time, over time, over time. It's very important that people to be patient with themselves, especially when you're trying to find the right support system the therapist, your friend, and your circle. It's going to take some time to find the right person. So that's really how I raised my bullying.
Yeah, I think that's super important to remember. I think some people, have checked in and done some counseling, and maybe it didn't work. They didn't feel that connection, and maybe they kind of went away from it. But I think you do have to find that connection, find the right person, and then build that rapport and relationship as you go. So it might not be the first person or first or second or third, or maybe you have to go through male or female or what their background is or whatever that
Exactly.
connection brings you together. Absolutely. Do you have any specific strategies or tools that helped you stay motivated and focused?
So, cell phone. Of course, we always on our cell phone, okay, everyone? I know people are like, what? I'm like, no, listen. So, we're on our phone 24/7, right? So, what I learned was that I cleaned my social media. And what I mean is is that I unfollow people that does a lot of flashy things, does weird things that doesn't resonate with my goal. And number two, I follow a lot of motivational people. I follow a lot of quote Instagram theme, and I stick with that. And that way now, every time I go on my phone, it inspires me to move forward, keep me motivated. Because the very first thing we wake up, where do we go? The bathroom, and then our cell phone, and then the iPad. Right? Right? Am I not lying? So
That's it. That's it.
I make sure I clear everything on my social media. What do I see? And I make sure that I'm feeding my brain healthy. Even though it's very hard in the beginning, it was very, very hard. So what I did was I make sure that I read a good book to help me entertain and that helped me to reach my goal. So I make sure I read a book before I go to bed or even in the morning sometimes. Sometimes I wake up early. I don't know why. But that's what I usually do to keep motivated by having that, and also too having a very strong why. It's very important to have that strong why, because if you don't have that strong why, you're not gonna keep moving forward, keep yourself motivated. So that's really how I keep moving forward.
Yeah, that's a really good reminder. I know there's a lot of common phrases, and sometimes we use the phrases like maybe too much and they kind of lose their appeal. But, we've heard like iron sharpens iron. You want to have that good stuff around you. We've heard you are the five people that you surround yourself with, or something similar to that. So it really is like what's around you and what you're intaking. So I think it's a great reminder to, focus in on that. And if, people are negative, pulling energy from you, they're not getting you where you want to go. Maybe it seems kind of cold, but maybe you got to separate and kind of hit that unfollow and stay focused on your goals. Try to move forward. Absolutely. What's one key mindset shift that can help someone push past their limitations?
I would say it's coming out of your comfort zone. That mindset is definitely huge shift because if you are stuck in that comfort zone and you're not coming out of it, you're not going to be able to grow. And I feel like in order to come out of that comfort zone and be able to grow, it's being able to be honest with yourself. To ask yourself, why am I feeling like this? What is it that I'm stuck on? Who can help me? Why am I feeling this way? What is it that I need to do to improve my life? You have to ask yourself these honest questions, because if you don't ask yourself these honest questions, you're not going to grow. And I had clients in the past who were super nervous to ask themselves deep, hardcore questions. And I said, why are you nervous to ask yourself that? And they said it's because no one ever sits down with them. And it's important to sit down with yourself and ask those hardcore questions. If you cannot answer these hardcore questions, you're not going to come out of your comfort zone. You're not going to be able to grow, and you're not going to know what's out there for you. And you'll be surprised what's really truly out there for you. Literally start from asking yourself your questions. Just stop questions. If you don't know what to ask yourself, deep hardcore questions to come out, I highly look online, just type in deep questions to come out of your comfort zone. And look at these questions that comes up with, and you can answer this question on your own. And then you can finally look at it and say, maybe this is something I really struggle with, and this is something I need to get help with. And do not be afraid to get help. And that's number two. And I know a lot of people feel intimidated by getting help, and they're like, oh, I'm being told not to get help because it consider yourself as a weak person. There's nothing that's called a weak person. Like, get that out of your head. You're never called or considered weak.
Do you have any examples of stories where someone was stuck and then they were able to ask themselves some tough questions and then accomplish something they never thought possible?
Yeah, I remember someone in my community asked me a question regarding to getting the driver license. she was deaf. So I had my driver license since I was 16 years old. So I'm young, you guys. So I'm 27. So I'm not that old. And so he asked me the question, like, I don't know if I could drive. And I said, why? I can drive. What's wrong? And he was just like, no, like, I'm scared. And that confidence wasn't there. So I said, where's the confidence? Confidence in, like, what happened? He's like, well, I never had friends that drive a car, so I didn't know. And I said, well, let me ask you something. And he's like, well, what if I told you you can actually get your license within a year? He's like, there's no way I can get my license. So I said, because you have to manifest that. You have to have that mindset saying, I'm going to get it. You need to have that mindset. So what I did was I told them, before you go to bed, tell yourself you will get that driver license. The more you manifest yourself, the more you program your brain that you're going to do something, it will happen. And so I would say maybe 5 months later, he got his driver license. And so it's really about why. Where did that come from? Why are you not, why do you think you're not capable of driving? And so I feel like you have to ask yourself, why do you think you're not capable? So that's pretty much one of the examples I have.
That's so interesting too, because I think a lot of people think it's cheesy or hippie or whatever to have that self talk and things like that. But they've done studies where they scan your brain. I saw one where they were doing research and they had someone think of an argument they were going to have in the future, and then they recorded them or searched their brain while they were actually having the argument, and the exact same parts of the brain lit up. So if you're thinking about something, it's the same thing as if it occurring. So in reality, if you were to think and manifest like I can do this, then you should be able, I mean, not like fly off a building or something, like you can't become a bird, but that positive talk on the inside is super important. So I think people kind of want that to be, oh, that's like fake or cheesy. That's some real stuff. He didn't think he could get it in a year. He gets it in under half a year. Totally can do it. That's awesome. Great story. The last pillar you have is entrepreneurship and coaching. So what inspired you to start your own coaching business?
Like I said before, when I was growing up, I was looking for a coach, a counselor that was deaf, that looked like me. And so I realized that, I wanted to make the change for the youth to let them know that they're not alone. And that's why I wanted to start my coaching business to really help more youth who I need.
That's awesome. What do you think the biggest challenge has been starting up the business, or even throughout the time you've had the business? What's the difficult thing, and how'd you push through?
I would say being able to get myself out there, I would say the biggest challenge. What I mean by it, networking. So being able to network and being able to get clients. I feel like that's what a lot of first-time business struggles with. How do I find these people? And so thankfully, because I did podcasts prior, before I started my coaching business. And so I would used to be on a lot of disability podcasts. I was being a lot of parent podcasts. So I did. So because I forgot, I used to have an email list, and I sent out an email letting them know, hey, I'm starting my coaching business. And that's when a lot of people reached out to me and said, oh my God, congratulations. So I would say one is finding the right client, two, creating so many strategies to find the right client. Because being entrepreneurship is all about being creative, right? It's all about having so many different strategies. If it's not working, this is not working. So that was definitely one of my struggles when I started my company.
Getting going, but you got to be creative. How do you incorporate psychology into your coaching approach?
Yeah, so we do a lot of workshops in terms of CBT worksheet, and as well, I do a lot of brain thinking when it comes to clients. So I know a lot of clients, I educate clients about the mindset, especially how does our brain operate. How can we learn your brain without having to be too super crazy towards your brain? What is it that we can do? So I teach clients about the mindset and teach them about psychology a little bit in terms of motivation, what it causes. I don't focus on negative psychology. I basically focus on positive psychology because I know a lot of clients don't feel comfortable talking about the trauma, but I probably go a little bit, but not too deep. So I'm basically focused on a lot about the positive psychology.
Yes, that's good stuff. What advice do you have for aspiring entrepreneurs who feel held back by their circumstances?
That's a good question. Say it that you just never know who's gonna need your voice or your business. For me personally, when I first came out of my business and I pinched to a school actually to become a speaker, and I had no idea they're going to say yes. They said, "Oh my God, we need you. Where were you this whole year?" You'd be surprised who needs your service and who needs you and who needs your voice.
Yeah, I definitely had that on the show a couple times. I've reached out to guests, and guests are like, "Well, I don't know if my story is good enough, or I don't know if I have enough like advice to pass." And I always try to say, like, you have no idea. I have no idea. None of us do. Like, your story might be the thing that connects or helps somebody. So just come on, we'll record it. I mean, you take an hour of your day and maybe you help somebody. I mean, worst case, it doesn't, but maybe it does down the road or something like that. But, you use up an hour of your time and you potentially help somebody. I think that's a good use of an hour. But yeah, I think it's a really good reminder. And sometimes I think we'll never know. Like sometimes you get the thank you note or the follow up, but I know there's probably been people that have been impacted and, they feel good for the day and you never hear anything. They go about their thing, they do something else and whatnot. We're all overly busy, rushing around, doing a bunch of things. So you probably positively impacted somebody, but you might not never know. Another question I had, I kind of touched on this, but maybe you have another one. Can you
Okay.
share another success story of someone you've helped transform their life? I love the driver's license, but is there another one of your coaches without, giving away details and names and things like that, but another
Yeah.
transformation that really helped?
Oh my God, I actually spoke to a school. A school. I spoke to a school. I won't be saying the name. So I spoke to a school and they ordered like 500 of my books, and it was a deaf school. A high school student, bunch of high school students came up to me. They read my book prior before I came in, and they read it so quick because my book was a poem book. And so all these students lighted up their eyes when they saw me. They're like, "Kalina, your book with everything. It's what I needed." And I was like, "Oh my God, what?" The students said, "Yeah, I've been struggling so much in the hair school, and I completely relate to what you're saying. Like it was hard." And I was like, "Oh my God, I understand." And we were just having a great small conversation. And then the student said, "Because you're here and you're super successful, uh, and you give me hope to say that I can actually do anything I want to do." And I said, "Of course,
Mm.
nothing's wrong with you. You can be whatever you want to be. You can own a business." And he's like, "Yeah, I didn't think I would own a business until he
Dang,
read my book." Yeah, until he
that
read
really
about me.
sticks with you, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. I was like, "Oh my God, I'm being so in awe right now." And like, the student was like, and another student came up to me. They wanted to write a book as well. They weren't sure. And I provide them resources actually on the spot, how to write a book. And yeah, it was just so sweet. It was very, very sweet. So I was able to impact with a lot of people, especially through my book, not just my coaching, but also through my book.
That's amazing. I mean, I can't think of anything that's too much more powerful than hope. You gave someone hope. That's pretty amazing. The last thing I want to try to bring all this wonderful goodness together. How can people support the deaf community and promote inclusivity? Wow, it's a hard word.
I know. Stay honest. You truly educate yourself about the disability community and the deaf community. And number two, if you can, just learn the basic sign language. Hi, how are you? You're welcome. The basic. It doesn't hurt. And number three, I would say follow people on Instagram or TikTok, support them. Comment, repost their stuff, and just the little things that matter the most is the kindness. Being able to share, being able to like and comment. That's really what matters, and that's really important way to support the deaf community.
That's awesome. Well, today, if listeners could take one lesson from your journey, what do you hope it is?
Oh God, there's so many. I would say my hope, I would say is for the listeners, is that you have one life to live, right? God give you a gift for a reason. God give you this thing, whatever this thing you are struggling with. He gave it to you for a reason, whether it's mental health, whether it's disability. He gave it to you for a reason because he knows you are strong and you are capable of carrying it with you. So let's say, for example, tonight you go to bed, I'll come in your dream and he said you have X, Y, and D amount of time to live. And you open your eyes and you realize that you have a timeline. And are you gonna take advantage of your timeline? Of course we will take advantage of our timeline. So use that strength that gift that God gives you. Use it, because you'll be surprised how many people in the world is going to need you more than anything. And literally, that's how I want people to look at my story and realize that God gave me a gift, which is my deafness, to educate people and to be inspired by other people and let people know they're not alone.
You are not alone. There's way too many people on this earth to be alone. There's someone like you out there that can help you and connect with you. Well, Kalina, thank you for coming out. I want to ask you, where can people connect with you and learn more about you?
Yeah, for sure. Everybody can find me on my website, KalinaEmpowerment.com, or you guys can find me on social media, which is Instagram, Deaf Queen Boss, LinkedIn, Kalina Powell.
Perfect. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to keep the conversation going. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Buzzsprout, and share your thoughts. Please, if you can, drop a review. I love you all. See ya.